Your silence is hurting them more than you think. Stoic life, lessons, Stoicism. Hey there, welcome back to Win Stoic. What truly haunts people isn't what you said, it's the silence you left behind. They assumed you'd always explain, always fight, always prove your worth. They believed they could push you away and still find you waiting. But what they never expected was your silence, because silence isn't weakness, it's power. When you stop justifying, stop chasing, stop reacting, you strip away their control. They expected anger, they expected explanations, they expected one last plea. But silence forces them to face something far worse, their own reflection. At first they feel relief, then comes doubt, then fear. They start checking, rereading, questioning. And that's when they realize you're not waiting, you're walking away. In this video, I'll show you why silence is your greatest strength and how mastering it can change everything. Let's get started. Number 1. Why silence hurts more than words. Silence is a force more powerful than words because it cannot be debated, dismissed, or manipulated. It is the one language that demands to be felt, not just heard. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And in the case of silence, the absence of reaction speaks louder than any response ever could. When someone expects you to chase after them, to plead, to explain, and you do nothing, your silence becomes a mirror they never wanted to look into. Words can be twisted, ignored, or argued against, but silence forces a person to sit alone with their thoughts, their insecurities, and their fears. And that is where the real battle begins. At first they may shrug it off, believing you're simply playing a game, expecting you to come back begging for their attention. They assume you're waiting by your phone, consumed with thoughts of them, ready to react the moment they reach out. But as the hours turn into days and the days stretch into weeks, the weight of your silence grows heavier. Doubt begins to creep in, whispering the very thoughts they fear most. Maybe he isn't waiting. Maybe he's moved on. Maybe he's happier without me. And that thought alone is more painful than any argument or insult could ever be. Because silence, unlike anger, is not an emotional reaction, it is a decision. It's a statement without words. A finality that cannot be undone. Your silence does not feed their ego, it starves it. And the human mind, when starved of validation, becomes its own worst enemy. Suddenly, the confidence they once had begins to waver. The power they thought they held over you dissolves. The version of you that once tolerated their games, their inconsistency, their lack of appreciation no longer exists. And that realization is haunting. Every time they check their phone and see no missed calls, no desperate messages, it stings. Every time they refresh your social media and see nothing, no cryptic posts, no emotional outbursts, it gnaws at them. The silence they once dismissed now becomes the loudest sound in their head. Because deep down they expected a reaction. They expected you to plead, to prove, to justify your worth to them. But your silence does something far more powerful. It forces them to confront the truth they've been avoiding. It creates an empty space in their mind, a void where their ego once thrived, and in that emptiness they come face to face with their own reflection. And what they see isn't you being weak, broken, or desperate, it's themselves, realizing that they were never as irreplaceable as they believed. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that is exactly what silence does. It forces them to suffer through their own imagination, to replay every moment, every mistake, every choice that led to this absence. At first they will convince themselves that you will return, that you're simply giving them space. But as the silence stretches on, that conviction begins to crumble. The mind, when left to fill in the blanks, often creates the worst-case scenario. And in their mind, your silence is telling a story they never thought they'd have to hear. You've moved on. You've healed. You've found better. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about playing games. This is about reclaiming your power, your dignity, and your peace. The Stoics teach us that true strength lies not in controlling others, but in controlling ourselves. When you choose silence over reaction, you are no longer engaging in the battle they set up. You are walking away from it entirely. And in doing so, you show them the one truth they were never prepared to face. You were the prize all along. They thought they broke you, but in reality, they only broke the version of you that accepted less than you deserved. So let this be your affirmation. The day you choose to walk away in silence is the day they realize they lost something they never truly deserved. Not because you wanted them to hurt, but because you finally recognized your own worth. In Stoicism, we learn that external events, including how others treat us, are beyond our control. But our response, our ability to choose silence, to remove ourselves from chaos, to refuse to be a pawn in someone else's game, that is where our true power lies. The greatest lesson you can ever teach someone who underestimated you is this: you do not beg for what is already yours. You do not chase what does not value you. You do not fight for a seat at a table that does not see your worth. Instead, you walk away not with anger, not with bitterness, but with quiet strength. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can ever say is nothing at all. Number 2, the hidden stages they go through. Silence is not just something they notice. It's something they feel deeply and relentlessly, whether they choose to admit it or not. What most people don't realize is that silence doesn't hit all at once. It unfolds slowly, creeping into the mind, dismantling their confidence, stage by stage, until the weight of it is too heavy to bear. The first stage is denial. At first, they convince themselves that you're simply playing hard to get, that you're waiting for them to reach out, that this is just another phase in the cycle they thought they controlled. They assume your silence is temporary, just another tactic. And they remain certain that you'll return with an apology, another chance, another desperate attempt to fix what they broke. But what they fail to realize is that your silence is not a game. It's the final answer to a question they've tested one too many times. And as the days turn into weeks, the cracks begin to show. Next comes curiosity. They expected you to break, to waver, to slip up and show some sign of weakness. But as time stretches on and the message they were sure they'd receive never arrives, they begin to wonder. The checking begins. They scroll through your social media, lurking in the shadows, watching your stories, searching for any clue that you're suffering, missing them, regretting your silence. But there is no sign of pain, no desperate posts, no breadcrumbs for them to follow back into your life. They start liking old photos, posting subtle digs, hoping to provoke a response, anything to confirm that they still hold power over you. But the silence remains, a void they cannot fill. And that's when the frustration sets in. Frustration is a dangerous stage because it forces them to confront something they never expected: powerlessness. Your silence is the one thing they cannot control. Their ego, so used to validation and attention, begins to feel starved. They grow restless, irritated, unable to comprehend why the dynamic has shifted so drastically. They tell themselves they don't care, that they're better off without you, but deep down they feel the emptiness growing. They wanted a reaction, they wanted to feel needed, but what they received instead is nothing, and nothing is the one thing the human mind cannot bear. Then comes fear. The longer your silence lasts, the louder their insecurities become. The mind, when left to wander, is ruthless, and the unknown is its greatest tormentor. Questions begin to haunt them. What if you've already moved on? What if you're healing? What if you found someone better? The possibilities swirl in their mind, growing darker with each passing day. Because if you're not reaching out, if you're not chasing them, it means they were never as important as they once believed. Maybe you weren't weak. Maybe they were. Maybe they weren't the ones in control after all. That realization shakes them, and for the first time, they are forced to sit with the truth they've been avoiding. You were the one who deserved better. And then, finally, comes regret. This is the stage that truly breaks them. Every unanswered text, every ignored post, every empty space where your presence used to be is now filled with an ache they can no longer suppress. They begin to replay the past, dissecting every moment, every choice, every mistake. They wonder why someone who truly loved them could walk away so quietly without a fight. And then it hits them. Maybe they didn't deserve you after all. Maybe they took your love for granted, assuming you would always be there, always waiting, always forgiving. But now maybe it's too late. Regret is a slow poison, and the worst part is their pride will never allow them to admit just how much your silence is tearing them apart. They will pretend, they will posture, they will put on a show of strength, but behind closed doors they are coming undone, piece by piece, under the weight of their own choices. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "If you wish to be strong, learn to enjoy being silent." Silence is not weakness. It is the ultimate form of strength. It forces people to face themselves in ways they never wanted to. It removes distractions, eliminates illusions, and reveals the truth in its rawest form. Your silence is not about revenge, nor is it about playing mind games. It is about reclaiming your power, your dignity, and your peace. It is about showing without words that you will no longer settle for anything less than what you deserve. The greatest lesson you can ever teach someone is the lesson of losing you. Because sometimes the harshest punishment is not anger, not confrontation, but the absence of presence itself. And so I leave you with this. I am choosing silence because I am choosing myself. Drop this affirmation in the comments and let it sink in, because in the end, the person who stays silent holds all the power. And that, my friend, is the essence of the Stoic mindset, the foundation of Stoic happiness, and the reason Stoicism today remains one of the most powerful philosophies for self-mastery and emotional resilience. Number 3, how your silence is reprogramming their mind. Your silence isn't just confusing them. It's rewriting the very way they see you, themselves, and the past. Most people don't understand the power of silence because they've never had to sit with it long enough. But when you step back, when you remove your words, your explanations, your presence, something remarkable happens. It forces them to confront the reality they've been running from. At first, they don't take it seriously. They assume you're just trying to get their attention, that this is another cycle, another test they'll eventually win. But as time stretches on, as the silence grows heavier, doubt creeps in. They check their phone, expecting your name to appear, but nothing comes. They refresh your social media, hoping to find some clue that you're missing them, suffering, regretting, but the silence remains. And the human mind, when left to fill in the blanks, often creates its own worst nightmares. It starts subtly. They tell themselves that you're just being stubborn, that you'll eventually cave, that the dynamic hasn't changed. But silence is a void that the ego cannot tolerate. It forces them to question everything they once believed to be true. Maybe you're healing, maybe you've moved on, maybe you've found someone better, someone who values you the way they never did. And then the darker questions begin to surface. Were they ever as important to you as they thought? Were they just a chapter in your life that you were willing to close? It's not the silence that hurts them, it's the uncertainty. Because people can handle pain, they can even handle rejection, but what the mind cannot easily resolve is doubt. And that doubt is the very thing that rewires them. Suddenly the confidence they once had begins to slip away. They used to believe they were the prize, the one who held the power. But now, they're left wondering if they were just someone you tolerated, someone replaceable, someone whose absence means less than they ever imagined. And that's where your silence becomes more powerful than any words you could have spoken. Because before, they saw you as someone who would always be there, someone who would fight for them, explain yourself, try to prove your worth. But now they're realizing you're no longer playing the role they assigned to you. You're no longer someone who needs closure, explanations, or validation. You're no longer the person who gives endless chances, who waits in the background, hoping to be seen. You're becoming the person they always feared you'd be. Someone strong enough to walk away, someone with self-respect, someone who no longer needs their approval. And the harshest truth of all? They're starting to see that they needed you far more than you ever needed them. Seneca once said, "The greatest revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And that is exactly what you're doing. You're not engaging in the drama. You're not seeking revenge, not playing games, not trying to prove a point. You're simply choosing yourself, and in doing so, you're showing them the one thing their ego was never prepared for. You are no longer accessible. The version of you that they took for granted no longer exists. You have evolved, grown, and moved forward in ways they never thought possible. And that realization, more than anything, is what will haunt them. Because while they were busy expecting you to break, you were quietly rebuilding. While they were waiting for you to reach out, you were learning how to let go. And by the time they finally recognize what they've lost, it will be too late. But here's the most important part. This isn't about them. This is about you. This is about understanding that silence is not just an absence of words. It's an affirmation of self-worth. It's a declaration that you no longer beg for what should be freely given, that you no longer chase validation from those who fail to see your value, that you have stepped into a version of yourself that no longer needs to be understood because you know who you are. And this is what separates high-value men from those who waste their energy on people who never truly deserved them. This is the Win Stoic mindset, one where you master yourself, where you learn that real power is in restraint, where you let your silence speak the lessons your words never could. Stay silent. You are not the speaking song, you are not the speaking words, where you learn the silence speak the lessons your words never could. So if you've ever questioned whether your silence matters, understand this, it does. It is the most profound lesson you will ever teach, not just to them, but to yourself. Because the moment you choose silence over reaction, peace over conflict, and self-respect over validation, you have already won. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's this. My silence is teaching them what my presence never could. Drop this affirmation in the comments, own your worth, and remember, The man who holds his silence holds all the power. If you've made it this far, you're already embracing the power of silence. Drop a comment saying, "My silence is my strength," to show you're committed to self-growth and inner peace. Stay with us. This is just the beginning of your transformation. Number 4. How to keep your silence powerful. The hardest part of silence isn't the beginning. It's the discipline to maintain it when every fiber of your being wants to break it. Silence, when used with intention, isn't just about withholding words. It's about who you become in the absence of unnecessary noise. It's a transformation, a rebuilding process that reclaims your strength, dignity, and purpose. True silence isn't passive. It's an act of quiet defiance, a declaration that you are no longer defined by someone else's validation. "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we speak," said Zeno of Citium, and in that wisdom lies the essence of why silence is powerful. It forces you to listen, to yourself, to the lessons of the past, and to the path that lies ahead. Every moment of silence is an opportunity to reclaim the parts of yourself that were once overshadowed by someone who failed to appreciate your worth. Instead of focusing on their absence, turn inward and invest in your own evolution. Take that energy and redirect it into your health, your mind, your passions. Wake up early and push yourself physically. Train your body not just for aesthetics but for resilience. Start journaling, documenting the thoughts and lessons that come to you as you navigate this new chapter. Rediscover the man you were before they made you believe you weren't enough, before they distorted your sense of self-worth. Each time you choose self-discipline over self-pity, you send a message without ever speaking a word. I am not coming back. Every time you heal another wound they left behind, you reinforce the truth that their absence is not a weakness, it's a gift, a doorway to something greater. This is where Stoic life lessons come into play. Choosing not to react emotionally, but rather to channel every setback into a source of strength. The greatest mistake you could make is to let your silence be about them. It is not a weapon for revenge. It is a tool for self-restoration. The most powerful silence is the one that doesn't just leave them wondering where you went, but questioning if they ever really knew you at all. Let them see the glow of your new life without hearing a single word from you. Do not block them, do not delete them, do not engage. Let them observe from a distance as you evolve into the version of yourself they never thought you'd become without them. Because what will break them the most isn't your silence, it's watching what you build in that silence. They expected you to crumble, to wait, to suffer in silence. Instead, let them see a man who rises, who thrives, who refuses to be defined by their absence. Let them witness, with no invitation to your life, how you cultivate a reality that they are no longer a part of. And this isn't about making them miss you. That is a game of ego. This is about making yourself so whole that their regret becomes irrelevant. That is the version of you they feared the most. The one who doesn't just move on, but moves up. The one who no longer looks back because the future is far too bright. The one they will never have access to again. Your silence isn't just making them wonder, it's rewiring their perception of you entirely. The power they thought they had over you is slipping through their fingers with every second you remain silent. They once believed you needed them, but your silence tells a different story. The story of a man who doesn't beg, doesn't plead, doesn't seek closure, a man who simply moves on. And that's what will haunt them the most. Not just the loss of you, but the realization that you are always the prize and they were too blind to see it. But by the time they recognize this, it will no longer matter, because you will have become someone who would never look twice in their direction again. The greatest revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury, said Seneca, and that is exactly what you must embrace. Silence becomes weak when it is used merely as a tool to punish, but when it is used as fuel for growth, it becomes an unstoppable force. The key is to focus entirely on yourself. If your silence is merely a waiting game, hoping they'll return, it loses its impact. But if your silence is rooted in true transformation, it becomes undeniable power. The kind of power that no longer needs an audience, no longer craves acknowledgement, no longer seeks validation from those who once overlooked you. That is the essence of Stoicism today. Not reacting to what you cannot control, but mastering what you can. Number 5, when will they break? They will break the moment they realize that your silence isn't an attempt to provoke them. It's the clearest declaration that you are no longer waiting. Not just silent, but truly absent. Not withholding words, but withholding access. It won't happen in the first few days, nor even the first few weeks, because their ego will convince them that you're playing a game, that you're waiting for them to return, that this is just another test. But silence does not work like a sudden impact. It works like erosion, slow, steady, and irreversible. At first, they'll tell themselves you'll reach out eventually, that you'll crack, that history will repeat itself. But as time stretches on and their expectations remain unmet, their confidence starts to unravel. It will begin late at night, when they find themselves scrolling through old messages, searching for the version of you who once fought to be heard, who once begged them to stay, who once gave them unlimited chances. They will replay the conversations where you poured your heart out, and for the first time, they will feel the weight of what they dismissed. The silence that once felt like a power play now feels like a loss they can't undo. They'll start looking for signs, checking if you're struggling without them, but the reality will hit them like a slow poison. You're not angry, not bitter, not resentful. You're just gone. No cryptic posts, no blocked accounts, no forced displays of happiness meant to spark jealousy, just a void where your energy used to be. And that void will haunt them, because nothing is more unsettling to the human mind than the realization that someone who once gave them everything now chooses to give them nothing. They won't break because you left. They'll break because you stopped looking back. Some will crumble quickly, reaching out within weeks, desperate for some form of validation, while others will take months, slowly coming to terms with the fact that the longer they wait, the less likely it is that you'll ever return. And when they finally break, when they finally reach out, it won't be the silence that destroys them, but the person they'll be reaching out to. The version of you who no longer seeks an apology. The one who has no need for closure. The one who realizes that losing them was not a setback, but a turning point. And by then, they'll be hoping to reconnect with the old version of you, the one who would have answered on the first ring, who would have fought for them, who would have given them yet another chance. But what they will never comprehend is that your silence didn't just hurt them. It transformed you. The man they left behind no longer exists, and the one you have become has no space for their presence. They will break when they finally understand that your silence is not about them anymore, it is about you. And no amount of regret, no amount of reflection, no sudden moment of realization will ever unlock the door they themselves closed. Your silence is not punishment, it is protection. Every second you maintain it, you are breaking the cycle of proving your worth to someone who was never meant to see it. You are teaching a lesson without speaking a word, that the absence of your energy is more powerful than any explanation you could ever give. Let them wonder. Let them regret. Let them sit with the emptiness they created. Because your silence is not just something they hear, it is something they feel. And it is the loudest message you will ever send. This is Stoic happiness, the embodiment of Stoicism today. The discipline to hold your peace, the wisdom to let go, and the Stoic mindset to never chase what does not see your value. Your silence is not just the absence of words, it is the presence of strength, self-respect, and growth. Every day you choose to walk away from what no longer serves you, you are reclaiming your power and stepping into the best version of yourself. True Stoic happiness comes from mastering your emotions, valuing your peace, and refusing to seek validation from those who never truly saw your worth. So, ask yourself, are you using your silence to evolve, or are you still waiting for someone to notice? Let your journey be about you, not them. If you're choosing yourself today, drop a comment below. I choose myself. And if you're ready to embrace the Stoic mindset and transform your life, hit that subscribe button, because here at Win Stoic, this is just the beginning of your journey to true power and freedom. 7 ways to build mental strength. Mental strength isn't just about enduring hardship, it's about mastering your emotions, thoughts, and actions, no matter what life throws at you. In a world filled with uncertainty, stress, and constant pressure, mental resilience is what separates those who thrive from those who merely survive. Whether you want to conquer self-doubt, achieve greater success, or simply find peace amidst chaos, strengthening your mind is the key. Drawing from the wisdom of Stoic philosophy, neuroscience, and high-performing individuals, we've uncovered 7 fundamental habits that mentally strong people practice daily. These are not just theories, but proven strategies that can help you become unshakable in the face of adversity. If you're already applying these 7 habits, you're mentally tougher than most people. But if not, don't worry, because by the end of this video, you'll have the blueprint to fortify your mind and take control of your life. Let's dive in. 1. Manage emotions without suppressing them. Managing emotions without suppressing them is an essential skill that defines true mental strength, yet it is often misunderstood. The old saying, "Leave your emotions at the door," sounds like a sign of toughness, but in reality it's a recipe for emotional repression, which can lead to stress, anxiety, and even physical health issues. True mental resilience doesn't come from ignoring emotions, but from mastering them. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. When emotions arise, whether frustration, anger, or sadness, the mentally strong man does not let them dictate his actions, nor does he pretend they don't exist. Instead, he acknowledges them, observes them like a wise general surveying the battlefield, and chooses the best response. In today's world, where social media and daily pressures constantly provoke reactions, the ability to regulate emotions without being controlled by them is more crucial than ever. Think of a man who instantly lashes out at a negative comment online. He loses his composure, and in doing so, gives away his power. Contrast that with the leader who, when faced with criticism, takes a breath, processes the feedback, and responds with calculated wisdom. This approach not only earns respect but also ensures better outcomes in all aspects of life, from relationships to decision-making. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic thinker, reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When emotions arise, ask yourself, is this feeling controlling me, or am I in control of it? Train yourself to create space between stimulus and response, a practice that is invaluable in handling conflicts at work, disagreements with loved ones, or even the daily frustrations of modern life. The modern man must learn that acknowledging emotions does not mean surrendering to them. It means understanding them, learning from them, and deciding how to act, not reacting impulsively. Mastery over emotions is not about becoming cold or indifferent, but about responding to life's challenges with clarity and intention, embodying the principles of Stoic life lessons. What is Stoicism, if not the art of inner mastery? It teaches that while we cannot control the external world, we can control how we perceive and respond to it. This is the mark of a truly strong mind, one that faces life with calm, clarity, and the power to choose its own path. 2. Confidence does not mean lack of doubt. Confidence is not the absence of doubt, but rather the ability to move forward despite it. If you have ever believed that truly confident people never experience doubt, you have been misled. Even the most accomplished leaders, athletes, and entrepreneurs have moments of hesitation, but what separates them from the rest is how they handle that uncertainty. A mentally strong person does not let doubt become an obstacle. Instead, they acknowledge it as part of the process and redirect their focus to solutions rather than problems. Take, for instance, Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he simply said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His confidence wasn't blind arrogance, but a deep understanding that setbacks were stepping stones. In today's world, where social media constantly bombards us with unrealistic standards, it is easy to fall into the trap of comparison, leading to self-doubt. But confidence is not built by waiting for all doubts to disappear. It is built by taking action despite them. Picture a man who wants to start his own business, but worries about failing. If he allows doubt to paralyze him, he will never take the first step. However, if he acknowledges the fear, prepares carefully, and takes the leap, he gives himself the opportunity to grow. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is the essence of a strong mindset, choosing action over hesitation. If doubt is a voice whispering that you are not good enough, then confidence is the discipline to keep going anyway. The key is to shift your focus from fear to purpose. More often than not, the answer is far less catastrophic than your mind makes it out to be. Confidence grows through experience, and experience only comes from action. The modern world often promotes an image of instant success, but real growth is a result of persistence through uncertainty. Stoicism today teaches us that control over our thoughts is the foundation of mental strength, and a Stoic mindset allows us to see doubt as a teacher rather than an enemy. At the end of the day, the difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck in self-doubt is not that one group has no fear, it is that one group chooses to move forward regardless. Confidence is a skill, not a trait. You build it every time you take action despite your doubts. 3. Talk to yourself like you would a friend. The way you talk to yourself matters more than you might think. Have you ever noticed how much kinder and more understanding you are to a friend than you are to yourself? When a close friend comes to you feeling defeated, whether it's after a breakup, a failed business attempt, or a personal setback, you don't immediately judge them. Instead, you listen, reassure them, and remind them that setbacks are part of life. You say things like, "I understand what you're going through. Don't be too hard on yourself. You'll get through this." But when you face your own struggles, do you offer yourself the same kindness? Or do you allow your inner voice to become your harshest critic, drowning you in self-doubt and negativity? One of the most underrated signs of mental strength is the ability to talk to yourself with the same compassion, patience, and encouragement that you give to others. As Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic leaders, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Your inner dialogue shapes the way you see yourself, the way you handle challenges, and ultimately the life you create. When you continuously criticize yourself, you reinforce limiting beliefs that hold you back. A high-value man, a man who leads his life with confidence, resilience, and wisdom, does not allow his mind to become his enemy. Instead, he trains his inner voice to be his greatest ally. This isn't about mindless positivity or ignoring reality. It's about shifting your perspective to focus on solutions instead of self-judgment. The words you choose in your mind have power. They can build you up or break you down. The difference between those who rise after failure and those who stay stuck is often not their circumstances, but how they speak to themselves during difficult moments. The great Stoic Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. What if, instead of tearing yourself down when things go wrong, you said, "This is tough, but I will handle it. I've overcome challenges before, and I will again." Think about how athletes talk to themselves before a competition. A fighter entering the ring doesn't dwell on his past losses. He tells himself, "I'm ready. I've trained for this." A successful entrepreneur doesn't focus on every mistake he has ever made. He reminds himself, "I've learned, I've grown, and I'm prepared to take on new challenges." When you shift your self-talk, you change your mindset. And when you change your mindset, you change your actions. And ultimately, your actions shape your reality. Win Stoic teaches us that self-mastery begins in the mind. The ability to direct your thoughts with discipline and purpose is the foundation of mental toughness. Self-talk is not just a feel-good exercise. It's a weapon that can either destroy your confidence or help you rise above any adversity. Being mentally strong doesn't mean never struggling. It means knowing how to pull yourself back up. It means recognizing that the way you speak to yourself is the foundation of how you face the world. The high-value man understands that his thoughts are his greatest asset. If you want to win in life, you must first win in your own mind. That's the real strength. Mental strength is built one step at a time, and you've already taken a big one by being here. Comment, strength starts within if you're ready to keep leveling up. More powerful insights are coming your way. Stay tuned. 4. Understand your recovery needs and seek the right support. One of the greatest misconceptions about mental strength is the belief that strong men face failure alone. Society has long painted a picture of resilience as isolation, as if carrying burdens in silence is a mark of toughness. But the truth is, real strength comes from understanding your recovery needs and surrounding yourself with the right support. Even the most powerful minds in history, whether warriors, philosophers, or leaders, never navigate challenges entirely on their own. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most respected Stoic emperors, wrote in Meditations, "Don't be ashamed of needing help. You have a duty to fulfill, just like a soldier storming a wall needs the help of his comrades." The lesson here is clear. The wise man does not struggle in solitude. He builds alliances that lift him up. Mental toughness isn't about pretending you don't feel pain. It's about knowing what helps you recover from it. Some men, like author Scott Moutz, rely on humor as a way to reset their minds, surrounding themselves with people who can lighten the weight of failure with laughter. Others find strength in meaningful conversations with family or friends who listen without judgment, offering a space for reflection rather than criticism. Some turn to mentors, men who have walked similar paths and can provide guidance with experience rather than empty reassurance. The key is knowing yourself well enough to understand what works for you. But in today's world, many men hesitate to ask for help, fearing that vulnerability is a weakness. Yet, what is Stoicism if not a philosophy of self-mastery that teaches us to accept what is beyond our control while fortifying our inner world? The Stoics never advocated for isolation, but instead encouraged meaningful connections that strengthen the soul. Seneca reminds us, a wise man is content with himself, but does not wish to be alone. Think about it. Who do you turn to when life knocks you down? Do you have someone who listens without judgment, who challenges you to think differently, who encourages you without sugarcoating reality? If not, now is the time to identify those people and strengthen those bonds. High-value men don't navigate life without a support system. They build circles of trust where wisdom, accountability, and growth thrive. It's no coincidence that the most successful individuals, whether in business, sports, or personal development, have coaches, mentors, and advisors. Recovery is a team sport, and those who understand this emerge from failure faster and stronger than those who isolate themselves in silence. The greatest leaders of every generation had counsel, whether it was kings with their trusted advisors, generals with their strategists, or philosophers exchanging insights with fellow thinkers. Even in today's world, the men who truly thrive, those who embody Stoic life lessons, are the ones who recognize that strength lies in seeking the right support at the right time. 5. Let go of outdated beliefs. Letting go of outdated beliefs is not a sign of weakness, but of wisdom and growth. Mentally strong individuals understand that clinging to old, ineffective ways of thinking only hinders their ability to adapt and thrive. The world changes, industries evolve, and the strategies that once worked may now be holding you back. The ability to unlearn outdated beliefs and replace them with better, more effective perspectives is a skill that separates those who remain stagnant from those who continue to grow. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." This reminds us that many of the limitations we impose on ourselves are based not on objective reality, but on old conditioning, past experiences, or self-doubt. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, "I'm too old to start something new," or "I've always been this way, and that's just who I am"? These thoughts are not facts. They are barriers you have accepted without challenge. If you want to move forward in life, you must first challenge these beliefs and ask yourself, are they serving me or are they holding me back? A company that was once untouchable became obsolete. The same principle applies to individuals. When you resist change, you risk becoming stuck while the world moves on without you. This is where Stoic mindset plays a crucial role. Stoicism today teaches us to focus only on what is within our control and to be willing to shift our thinking when necessary. If you believe that you are not as skilled as your colleagues, you will unconsciously act in ways that reinforce that belief. Instead, shift your mindset and tell yourself, I can develop the skills I need to succeed. When you change your thoughts, your actions follow, and over time, your reality begins to shift. This is not empty positivity, it is a strategy used by the most successful people across all fields. In your life, when you believed something that turned out to be false, maybe you once thought you weren't capable of public speaking, only to later deliver a speech that people admired. Maybe you believed that financial success was reserved for the lucky few, only to later realize that discipline and smart decisions were the real determining factors. If your past beliefs about yourself have been proven wrong before, why should you trust your current limiting beliefs? Letting go of outdated beliefs is not just about discarding negativity. It's about replacing it with thoughts that serve you better. If you once believed, I'm not good enough to be promoted, ask yourself what would happen if you replace that thought with, I am capable and I am taking steps to prove my value. When you shift your mindset, you open the door to opportunities you might never have considered. That happiness is determined by external circumstances, that your best days are behind you. These are not truths, they are limitations disguised as facts. Stoic happiness is about finding contentment in progress and embracing the mindset that change is not something to fear, but something to welcome. The strongest minds are those that adapt, evolve, and stay open to learning new ways of thinking. 6. Don't let daily tasks wear you down. Daily tasks can feel like an endless loop, slowly chipping away at your energy and patience. But mentally strong individuals don't let routine responsibilities drain them. They master their mindset to work for them, not against them. The truth is, life isn't always about grand achievements. Much of our time is spent in the small, repetitive moments. The emails, the errands, the commutes, the responsibilities that, if left unchecked, can become sources of stress instead of just simple parts of daily life. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled an empire while battling wars and plagues, wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." What he meant is simple. You don't control your workload, your obligations, or the unexpected inconveniences of the day, but you do control how you respond to them. If you approach your daily tasks as burdens, they will feel like chains, but if you see them as opportunities, chances to cultivate patience, discipline, and gratitude, they lose their grip on your peace of mind. Let's say your morning starts in chaos. Your inbox is flooded with emails, your phone is ringing, and you already feel behind before the day has even begun. The natural reaction might be frustration, maybe even resentment. But what if you paused and reframed your thinking? What if, instead of seeing an overflowing inbox as an annoyance, you saw it as proof that people value your input? What if, instead of grumbling about another commute, you recognized that this time alone could be used for reflection, listening to something that inspires you, or simply appreciating the moment? Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that is exactly what happens when we let minor daily tasks wear us down. We create unnecessary stress in our minds by resisting what simply is. That high-value man who remains composed even when the line at the store is moving too slow or when he's stuck in traffic. It's not that his life is easier than yours. It's that he has trained himself to see the mundane differently. He understands that every moment, even the routine ones, is an opportunity to strengthen his resilience. This is a practice rooted in mindfulness, a principle that the Stoics mastered long before it became a popular concept. Being fully present in what you're doing, whether it's sending an email, making your morning coffee, or handling work obligations, allows you to extract meaning and appreciation from even the simplest of tasks. Shifting this perspective doesn't mean pretending to love tasks that are boring or stressful. It means recognizing that how you approach them shapes your overall happiness. This is what separates those who feel constantly worn down from those who move through life with calm and control. The strongest minds don't wait for an easier life. They develop the strength to handle the life they already have. That's the essence of Stoic wisdom, and that's how you take control of your day, one mindful moment at a time. 7. Embrace change. Change is inevitable. No matter how much we try to resist it, life moves forward with or without our permission. In an era where technology, industries, relationships, and even our own bodies evolve at a rapid pace, change can feel unsettling, sometimes even painful. It's natural to feel hesitant when faced with uncertainty, but the strongest men, those who embody resilience, wisdom, and growth, don't resist change. They embrace it as an opportunity. The Stoics understood this well, with Epictetus reminding us it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This simple yet profound truth highlights that while we cannot control external changes, we always have power over how we respond. Whether it's adapting to new professional challenges, navigating personal relationships, or adjusting to the realities of aging, the way you approach change determines your success and happiness. Life does not pause to let you catch up, and those who remain stuck in their old ways, refusing to adapt, often find themselves feeling left behind, outpaced by those who see change as a tool rather than an obstacle. Think about the businesses that failed because they resisted change. Companies like Blockbuster, once a giant in home entertainment, refused to acknowledge the shift to digital streaming. Meanwhile, Netflix, which started as a DVD rental service, embraced innovation and transformed itself into one of the most powerful companies in the world. The same principle applies to individuals. High-value men, those who lead fulfilling, meaningful lives, understand that change is not something to fear, but a necessary evolution of life. When you refuse to change, you remain stagnant. Growth, by definition, requires movement. The Stoic life lessons remind us that flexibility and adaptability are not signs of weakness, but of wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, a ruler who faced constant political and personal upheaval, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, what you resist the most often holds the greatest potential for growth. What is Stoicism, if not the ultimate philosophy of mental resilience? The ability to accept reality as it is, not as we wish it to be, and then respond with clarity and strength, is the foundation of personal power. Instead of seeing change as an inconvenience, what if you viewed it as a personal software upgrade, a chance to refine, improve, and evolve? When you approach life with this mindset, you stop fearing change and start using it as fuel. The key is to shift from seeing yourself as a passive victim of change to an active participant in your own transformation. This shift in mindset is what separates those who thrive from those who merely survive. So, how do you start embracing change rather than resisting it? First, acknowledge your fear, but don't let it control you. Fear is natural, but action is what determines your outcome. Second, Seek the lesson in every change you face. Whether it's a career transition, a relationship shift, or an unexpected life challenge, there is always something to learn. Lastly, remind yourself that every time you have faced uncertainty in the past, you have found a way through it. You are more resilient than you think. The most successful, well-rounded men are not those who have avoided hardship, but those who have faced it head-on and come out stronger. Change is inevitable, but suffering through it is optional. The choice is always yours: resist and be dragged, or embrace it and grow. The strongest men do not cling to the past. They look forward, adjusting their sails, knowing that every storm they face is simply another opportunity to master the art of resilience. Thank you for taking the time to listen and join us on this journey to building mental strength. Developing a strong mindset isn't something that happens overnight. It's the result of continuous effort, perseverance, and the willingness to embrace challenges. Remember, mental strength doesn't just help you overcome obstacles. It brings you confidence, peace, and the ability to take control of your life. If this content added value to your journey, don't forget to share it so that more people can benefit from these powerful lessons. Keep pushing forward, keep growing, and never stop striving to be the best version of yourself. Life rewards those who are willing to evolve and move forward. See you in the next episode on Win Stoic.